Holy moly, Mr. Producer. What a long day. We gotta get this party started. Ahoy! Why, how are you? Why, my lighting kit is a bit out of whack. Oh, I'm completely out of sorts. Welcome to the Captain's Cast, such as it is, my dear crew. I am very sorry. The Captain has been, in addition to being under the weather, your dear Captain has been racing around, trying to get things done, and, I was unavoidably delayed, but we have got to talk about the Joker and whatever else you want. I'm probably going to lean heavily on videos because we'll see how this goes. I got a bit of a cough going. As you can tell, my voice is already hoarse. So I have no idea if I'm going to be able to do this for very long. But hey, the show must go on. I don't know what it is, folks. I have a weird obsession lately with, like, this show must happen. The Captain's Cast must happen live on the Swords and Starships channel on YouTube, Rumble, and X, formerly Twitter. Every day that it is scheduled to go live, because I don't do it every day. But in any case, I see the chat started without me, which I appreciate. I don't want to hear any business about it, Starfury. Our sweet prince is probably off to bed, but wow, do I have complicated feelings about Joker. This is like one of the rare times. I always like to think about a movie when I walk out of the theater. I like to let it sink in. You let that sink in, as Walter White would say. And, but the thing is, I almost immediately have a knee-jerk reaction of what I think about the film. This is one of the rare cases where I literally am like, I don't know. I have to think about this. Like, I have to turn it over in my head a couple of different ways and see how I feel about it. Because there's things in this movie that would be Joker Folie, the second entry into a franchise which did not require a second entry. Joker Folie, which is a French expression that means madness shared between two, which is not an accurate description of this film. There were things about it I really liked, and there were things about it I admired, and then there were things about it... how can I put this? There were things about the film that were exactly what I thought they would be, which is a total betrayal of what Blake Snyder called the promise of the premise. That would be Blake Snyder of the Save the Cat rules for writers. This is a film that betrayed the promise of the premise, but that's not because, well, it betrayed the promise of the premise we all came for, which is Joker. But it paid off the promise of the premise that apparently Todd Phillips showed up for. So this is a case where the artist and the audience, I think, are completely misaligned. So let's jump into it, chat. Man, my voice is bad. It is so bad. Does it sound more masculine? I feel like it sounds more masculine. I like that. Maybe I'll just get, I'll go and rub my face at some COVID or something. Oh my God, it's not even possible. Starfield is in the chat. Says, what the hell is going on? Well, Starfury. He says, it looks like I'm pulling an all-nighter, Captain Dan. No, Starfury, you don't have to do that. You can just watch the replay. I don't want... Poor Starfury. Believe me, I was racing home. I couldn't get home. I got really held up at work. So, Skunk's Workshop is in the chat. Says, yes, Starfury, the captain will need his best gunner. Starfury, boy, what is it, like 3 in the morning over in the aisles? Says half asleep at the kilometer. What the hell is that word, Starfury? Is that some weird British speak? You may have noticed, but the captain is not lacking for vocabulary. A collimator is a device which narrows a beam of particles or waves. Are you shitting me? Are you shit? I see you saying sippy cup. I see you saying sippy cup. Don't even pretend you're not. That's rad. Well, thanks for that new word. I'm going to use that in Galaxyborn. That's my upcoming science fiction story. And if you're good, chat, maybe I'll give you some Galaxyborn teasers. Starfield says, well, I could always fall back on area of effect weapons, so as Warhammer 40,000 Inquisitor would say, Exterminatus. What else we got? Believe me, I know, Starfield. The captain is never late. He arrives precisely when he means to. Anthony says, good afternoon, good evening, Starshippers. Good evening, Anthony. Good to see you. Man, my voice is so off. Guess I better get some coffee ready. It's going to be a long night. I mean, not that long. My voice probably won't hold out for more than an hour. Producer, it's not, look, the producer, it's not his fault, Skunks. Yeah, Mr. Producer, stop apologizing. I'm telling the chat right now, it's not your fault. Yes, I know it's an internship, but, that kind of lets you off the hook. Let's just be real. In any case, it's sweat equity, folks. That's the arrangement that we have. Starfield says, man overboard. Anthony Timmons says, watching the Michigan Wolverines play on TV with no sound, listening to Led Zeppelin 1, and waiting for the captain. This should be interesting. Wow, I am honored. You have no idea. You have no idea. The fact that I showed up and there was a bunch of chat already, I was like, this is such a great honor, I have to say. Because, honest to God, I was like, probably they've all, Star Fury's off to bed, Fu Man Blues given up on me. They've probably all scattered, into the night. And it'll just be me, a camera, and an empty chat. Probably, a couple things in the chat. And what happens? I show up, and you fine chaps and ladies are all present. It does the heart good. That's all I can say. Yes, Skunks. I said 8 p.m. Central. It is 8 p.m. Central. My time zones are all out of whack. It's, yes. What else do we have? I'm kind of moving quickly through the chat. Tim Allen, mead for all. I'm boarding the ship and the mead is coming with me. It is not a sippy cup, Tim Allen. I can't even use my typical indignant voice because my voice is so shot. It is an athletic water bottle. I find your lack of faith disturbing. Apology accepted, Admiral Nida. Well, it has one use, I'll say that much. Marines, take that man into custody, says Starfield 8 now. Settle down, chat. Should I just tear Joker 2 to shreds? What do you want me to do that for you, chat? I could do that for you. But the weird thing about this Joker, Folie, is that I'm literally of like two minds. This is a schizophrenic movie because let me give you a tale of two films. Okay, one film is an auteur director's fascinating, just engrossing, immersive character study of a man whose entire psyche and the world around him are crumbling. That would be the first film and the second. It is a study in fantasy and in madness. It's a fascinating investigation into the line that divides fantasy and insanity, or dreams and madness. That would be dreams for, who is this man really, is the question that Joker Folie asks as its thematic premise. And the revelation at the end of the film, and I'm going to go spoiler-free for now. We'll see how the chat feels. You let me know if you want to just spoil the shit out of this thing, chat. You just tell me. I don't want to spoil it yet, though, because, So the end of the film delivers a revelation which, in isolation, as a singular character study, I found incredibly interesting and surprising in a mostly good way. And I mostly enjoyed it on that level. On that level, I thought that's a pretty cool turnaround of everything. There were still things I didn't like, but like the journey we went on it's kind of like almost one of the good. How many are there? M. Night Shyamalan films. It's like a film with a really good twist, and it has something to say. What do I always say on this channel? The problem with modern entertainment is it lacks originality, it lacks beauty, and it lacks, what did I say? The pursuit of originality, beauty, authenticity. But one of the other fascinating things about modern film is it has nothing to say. Alien Romulus has nothing to say about the alien. It almost did. The first 30 minutes were pretty cool, and I was into it. And then it just turned into a cover band of all the other Alien films, even the bad ones. Why? It was a fucking cover band of Prometheus, for God's sake. Terminator Zero. Humans bad. What have humans ever done for this planet? Fuck off. Not you, my dear chat. The film. The show. Nothing to say. Nothing. Civil War. Oh my God, that movie. That's probably the movie that has the least to say of any movie I've ever seen. That would be Civil War, the film from last year. I had not seen it until recently. It came on Max, and I watched it. It's about a bunch of reporters in the middle of the new American Civil War, and they have to get to Washington to interview the president before he's just simply gunned down. And I just thought, this is a film that almost is desperately trying to avoid delving into even a single interesting question about this scenario. I mean, you have the mother of all scenarios. You've pissed off everyone in the world by even making this stupid movie. Why not get something out of it? But no, it's a bunch of boring, banal journalists journeying through a bunch of violence, and it's never clear which side is which. It's never understood why this all started, what it's all about, who's maybe sort of the perceived good guy, the perceived bad guy. None of that. And the funny thing about it is that was all the stuff that interested me. The film had nothing to say. It had nothing to say about a potential American Civil War. It had nothing to say about the concept of internecine conflict in a society. So, in Joker, Folie en Deux's defense, it has something to say. Something I would even go so far as to say is powerful. Poignant, even. That's the first film that I watched. And that film I quite enjoyed. But there was a second film. And that film was called Joker. And that film was meant to be based upon the character of the Batman comic book, The Joker. A cackling, maniacal clown who is a threat to Batman and Gotham. Don't forget, chat, like one of my favorite all-time movie villains, like ever, is Heath Ledger's Joker. He's just fantastic. He's one of the best movie villains of all time. Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin, I would give probably a tie. I would say those are my two favorite comic book villains ever committed to film. Actually, you know what? Shit, I got to add a third one. Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin. I got to add Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin because, my God, pre-MCU Stage 4. So there you go. So I am a great fan of the Joker character. I'm a great fan of the Joker when he's taken seriously, such as in the Nolan films. And what appeared to be the case in this Todd Phillips film was that he, and I believe I was mistaken in this impression. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Phillips. I mistakenly assumed, based on your first piece of work, Joker, that you were interested in this character, Joker, from Batman. I thought that was who you were interested in. I thought, somewhat needlessly, but with some artfulness, it must be said, you embarked upon a quest to study this character, to give the character who needs no origin an origin just for the sake of seeing what it would be like. I can respect that, if not condone it. And the first film was a mostly successful effort at that. I do have my quibbles with the first film in any case. I think some elements of the first film, when you think about it, this was always how it was going to go, wasn't it? But we'll get to that. Um, it turns out Todd Phillips was not interested in telling the origin story of the Joker from Batman. That was never his goal, which actually kind of makes sense in retrospect, because in the first film, as much as I enjoyed Joaquin Phoenix and the character of the Joker as portrayed, this is not the man who's a threat to Batman. This is not that man. This is not the guy that could, play ball at the level of the Jack Nicholson Joker or the Heath Ledger Joker or the Mark Hamill Joker. This is not that guy. He's not as funny as they are. He's not as terrifying as they are. He's not as clever as they are. And he sure as hell doesn't have any tricks up his sleeve. Okay, I'm speaking of the Joaquin Phoenix Joker. However, with the first film in isolation, one might be forgiven for assuming that the reason for that is simply that he wasn't final form Joker yet. He was still on his origin story. He hadn't quite figured out how to be Joker yet. And so that is for the next film, I guess. Cough button. We may be using it a lot tonight, folks. So, on that level, what Joker, Folie, Deux, ultimately devolved into was a terrible, terrible study of this character from Batman. A completely unnecessary... I mean, if anything, it was a indictment. That's... Maybe that... well, it certainly was a strange kind of indictment of its own fan base, which is... I have a lot to say on this topic, by the way, but we'll get to that later. What I would say... How can I put this? Mr. Phillips, this is an interesting character. Why weren't you interested in him? Or perhaps a better point to make would be, why were you interested in this character enough to make an origin story nobody wanted or asked for, but that was well received, and then with the second effort to simply undo all of what you did? What was the point of all of that? That does not seem like someone who's interested in this character. So I'm kind of split down the middle on this film, because if you just took the canon character, put that to one side, and just put aside all the Batman lore and just looked at it as a two-film study about a man who descends into madness, it's a pretty phenomenal cinematic experience for the most part. Definitely slow. I definitely thought the musical side of it was pointless and not very entertaining. It was actually, I got to tell you, there are some musicals I enjoy. This is one of the least inspiring musicals I've ever seen. I thought all the song choices were obvious and cliche. I thought the performances, ironically, given that you have Lady freaking Gaga, who is a phenomenal performer, her performances seemed mailed in. So the musical side of it was terrible. The dance numbers were terrible. But the descent into madness was decent and a passable film. And on that basis, I would have given it probably like a 7 out of 10. However, as a study of its own character, it's another deconstruction. It's another subversion. It's another film that's not really interested in its own premise. And therefore, it fails spectacularly to deliver on the promise of the premise, which is, I am here to watch the origin story of the Joker. That's why I'm here. That's what's on the poster. That's what's on the poster! I can't even yell properly. It's embarrassing, really. It's embarrassing. I really despise movies that don't live up to the poster. And this is a film that doesn't, the poster shows Harley Quinn and the Joker, and they're in this insane bad romance. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist it. And there's the idea that they are going to set Gotham City on fire. That promise was not delivered. And so I am tentatively giving this film, this is a really unusual score for the Captain, I'm giving this a 5 out of 10. I'm saying I'm giving it a neutral score because, on the one hand, there's elements of it that are impressive and enjoyable, and on the other hand, what was the point of all that? I'm literally divided. I can't decide. I can't decide. I'm fence sitting. Not really. I'm saying it's a, well, I mean, listen, 50% is a D. So it's a fail. So it's basically a fail. It's basically on the dividing line. So I'm saying it's a 5 out of 10. Now, I suspect a lot of people are going to want to give this a much lower score. And I don't blame them. Because if you came to this film for the premise, you are not a happy camper right now. I'm going to tell you. You are not a happy camper. I suppose some part of me is capable of separating this away from the Batman canon and just viewing it through that lens. Like, that's kind of cool. I kind of dig that. But on the other hand, it was still too long. The musical numbers were not necessary for this. And if you were going to do a musical, you could have done a much better musical. There's much better musicals they could have done. So I'm going to say 5 out of 10 for now. The problem is, the more I think about this movie, the more things about it I dislike. So that number could be revised downward. We'll see how it goes. What do you think, chat? I'm trying to catch up with... Oh, yeah, Starfield. It says kill the Joker. Anthony Timmons says, I heard it was just plain bad. I can't agree with that assessment, actually. Just plain bad was The Crow. The Crow, that would be the remake. The Crow remake was just plain bad. Plain bad. What else? Borderlands. Borderlands was just plain bad. The Acolyte was... no, I can't even say The Acolyte was just plain bad because it was extraordinarily bad. The most morally depraved, destructive piece of Star Wars film ever committed to a... I just totally screwed that up. The most destructive, morally depraved piece of trash ever to wear the name Star Wars. It was extraordinarily bad. But yeah, just garden variety bad. I would say that was more like... I'm tempted to say Alien Romulus was kind of just plain bad. This film was... The problem is Todd Phillips is a very talented filmmaker. And visually, there's a lot in this film that was fantastic. Some of the set pieces in the courtroom drama, some of that was just edge of your seat awesome. There were some incredibly harrowing moments with Arthur Fleck sort of at the mercy. In interesting ways, the psychological game and then sort of being at the mercy of the guards in Arkham Asylum was... Some of that was really well done. Although, I'm hearing that there is an interpretation of a scene in which the guards abuse Arthur in this that people are saying was a full-blown, grape. And that's not what I thought I saw. I was like, I think they just beat him up really good. I didn't think that... That's... What? I hope that's not... A lot of people are saying that's what happened. I don't know. So just plain bad. The problem is it's a talented filmmaker, and there's a lot. And if it was not the Joker canon, I'm not saying it'd be a great film because it was too long and there were some problems with the pacing. But I would say that the character study was quite original. I actually think the second film, from that perspective, is more original than the first one. The first one was very reminiscent of Falling Down, Taxi Driver, those sort of classics. Nothing wrong with that, but still, this film seemed more original than those ones to me, than the first one. But that being said, this is also a film that I really think got lost in the conversation about it. I think that Todd Phillips... I think I'm going to call this the Rorschach syndrome. Right, so the author of The Watchmen. I got to remind myself. Was it Alan Moore? I guess it was. I'm pretty sure it was Alan Moore. Yeah. So Alan Moore of The Watchmen famously hates that fans love the character Rorschach. They hate that. Because like all these wackos, these far left crazy wackos, they're the ones that seem to be taking their characters too seriously. They can't understand that just because we think a character is cool and interesting does not mean we like them or condone what they're doing. Hello, Walter White. By the end of Breaking Bad, one of the greatest shows ever, and Walter White is one of the best characters ever. By the end of that show, I hated the guy. I hated him. But I still had to know. Hate is a bit of a strong word. I strongly disliked him. And by the end of the show, I needed to know how his story was going to end. So this would be like Vince Gilligan deciding that because people liked Walter White, he had somehow committed a sin. And this is the thing with Rorschach. This is the thing with Todd Phillips and this Joker character. He thinks that because people liked this character in the first film, that means they somehow condone him. And they don't. Oh, they sympathize with him? Well, of course they do. You wrote this character to be sympathetic, you moron. What was your audience supposed to do? So we'll get into more of that. Tim Allen says, it is getting sad in the country when you make a movie based on a villain and hero worship the bastard. This is not my feeling. Because Tim Allen's saying country gone to show how the country's gone to crap. See, I don't think that's what people... I don't think people are hero worshipping Rorschach in The Watchmen. I don't think they hero worship Walter White in Breaking Bad. They're not hero worshipping the Penguin in The Penguin. He's a very interesting and likable character. That doesn't mean that in real life I would like the guy. He's a bloodthirsty mob boss. And I don't think people were... they're not worshipping Arthur Fleck. I think they see Arthur Fleck as he is, which is a Shakespearean tragedy. He is a man on a descent into hell. In many ways, he's a cautionary tale. But the thing that people enjoy about that is that it's cathartic, right? It's cathartic to identify with a character like that and just imagine going down the rabbit hole. Just imagine going into pure madness. That's the purpose of art. It gives us catharsis. It allows us to live out fantasies. It allows us to explore possibilities. That is one of its purposes. It is also to serve as a cautionary tale. If you went down this rabbit hole, where would that lead? And what I'm saying is, I believe that 99% of the audience totally gets it on that level. I don't think the audience is stupid. I don't think the audience... These creatives think the audience are stupid. They think that because we root for Walter White, it means that we actually want a meth kingpin to win. It's not really what it means. It means we're having fun watching the show, and it's fun to see if he'll win. That's what that means. And it's a fantasy. We are imagining ourselves doing something like this. Maybe on some level, it's a power fantasy. But that's all it is. It's a fantasy. So, what really grinds my gears is I think these creatives look down on their audience and think they're stupid. And that they're not capable of separating fantasy and reality. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Arthur Fleck's character represents intense suffering. Which is something, by the way, a lot of people in this world feel. He's the victim of abuse. He's been bullied. He has this terrible condition. He finds he's disconnected socially. Oh, how fucking dare your audience identify with a character like that and maybe just get a little bit of catharsis over the fantasy of what it would be like to just let go and just be totally insane. You know, I would argue that the feminazi fantasy of OSHA in The Acolyte is exactly that. What is this bizarre obsession with female characters doing terrible things to other characters, but it's empowering and it's stunning and brave, and it's reclaiming agency. And, my objection is not to the idea of a character going to the dark side. My objection is to these wackos, on the one hand, telling us that we are not to sympathize or root for Arthur Fleck, while also saying that it was stunning and brave when OSHA force choked to death in cold blood Master Soul. Do you see the problem? This is the problem. The interesting thing is, if in the right context, OSHA could have been an interesting character, a similar study in A Descent into Madness. The problem is the wackos that wrote OSHA really do. They really do condone her behavior. And it makes me sick. Starfield, he says, I have given up on mainstream entertainment. I'm going back to the grim, dark future of Warhammer 40,000. I get more enjoyment from that than anything Hollyweird can do. Anthony Timmons says, didn't Todd Phillips give a big FU to the fans? Wow, that's original. Yeah, they're out of their mind, chat. They're out of their mind, my dear sailors and Starnauts. What's crazy is I think it's a kind of guilty projection. I seriously do. I think that, listen, I'm an artist myself. I'm a writer as well. And I write villains. And I enjoy writing villains. And I'm just telling you right now, any writer who writes a good villain, and I'm talking about a good villain, any writer who writes a good villain, George R. Martin, hello, you tap into a dark part of yourself when you're writing a bad guy. You just do. You just let go, man. You're just like, we're going to the darkest side of things, and we're going to see where it goes. And there's a deep well of honesty there. Because every human being has a shadow, and that shadow is, well, we evolved from predators. We evolved from, primates that were swinging through the trees, bashing heads. Some of those instincts have survived into our civilized era. And so we all have to deal with that on some level. But the fun thing about villains is they are a safe environment to let those impulses kind of run wild and create the antagonist for the hero. And to have that struggle for the hero to actually achieve something, because it also it has the benefit of being real. Because there is evil in the world. There are bad people that a Paul Atreides needs to run through, if you know what I'm saying. And the problem is, it's not us that have lost sight of that. It's these wackos that make these movies that feel guilty because they did what every artist did, and they tapped into their own shadow, and they feel guilty that their audience tapped into their shadow when they watched it. And, oh no, we're going to get the Orange Man elected. Oh no, long may he reign, and he will. But my point is that they're so wrapped up in their own fantasy. That would be you, Todd Phillips, Leslie Headland, Dave Filoni. I'll just throw you in there catching a stray. They're so wrapped up in their fantasy that that their art is so damn important that it's gonna be the reason that the culture is won or lost, or the reason the Orange Man is elected or not. The fact that they believe all that, and that they are the arbiters of morality and art and culture, they are so enamored of that delusion that when their characters are liked for what they consider the wrong reason, well, now they got to claw them back. Now they've got to put their fans on blast. What I'm saying is, it's their hang-up. It's their problem, not ours. They're the ones with issues, not us. I think that OSHA and May in Star Wars The Acolyte was Leslie Headland's power fantasy wet dream. And the show, flat out, it's obvious. You watch that show and you're like, this is a sick power fantasy. Because the fact of the matter is, I never felt that Breaking Bad or Joker or Dexter or any of these other characters or the Penguin, I have not felt that any of those shows or films were condoning the actions of the character and saying that he's stunning and brave for what he's doing. If anything, the show is juxtaposing the character's delusions with the reality of what's actually happening. And I think that's great. But in the case of The Acolyte, my genuine sense was that you are meant to be cheering when OSHA chokes out Master Soul. You are meant to be titillated when OSHA and Chimera are starting to maybe hook up. And folks, I'm telling you, they feel guilty about that. The weird thing is they can do this with a male character, but they'll backpedal on a male character that's sort of a dark character that's liked. They'll never do this with a dark female character that's liked, because that's stunning and brave. That's empowering, and that gives them agency. Tim Allen says, Jack was better as the Joker. Fight me. I'm not going to fight you, Tim Allen. I will not fight you, Tim Allen. Jack Nicholson's pretty awesome. I just love it. What's the name of his guy? Joe Gunn. Joe hands him the gun. Then he shoots him. That's the best scene. Dude, Jack Nicholson was fantastic as that character. And he was intimidating. He was intimidating. He was funny. And he was a threat to Batman. Heath, now, I'm not going to tell you that Heath Ledger is a better Joker than Jack Nicholson, because in my view, Jack Nicholson is probably a more comic book accurate Joker. So it's sort of apples and oranges. I just consider them different interpretations, because the Nolan universe, unlike the Burton Batman universe, was intended to be very grounded and hyper real. And I loved it on that level, because I think Batman is a perfect character for that. Batman is the kind of superhero you can believe would exist in the real world. Elon is this close to being Batman. This close, bro. So I just really enjoyed that Heath Ledger played this larger than life psychopath. And I just thought Nolan nailed the dichotomy between the order and obsession and, the absolute, fastidiousness of Batman in his pursuit of justice, all of his rules, all of the, the institutions that Batman is trying to preserve, juxtaposed with, oh, and of course, all of his resources, wealth, billions, technology. But then you have the Joker, who has no name, no identity. He's penniless. He has nothing. He has no network or connection. All he has is a total lack of rules, a total lack of a plan, no actual desire. And so the yin and yang of those two characters was just brilliant. It was just brilliant. I just think that, and Heath Ledger created this character who was funny, but also in pure cackling evil. So I'm not going to tell you one's better than the other, but my favorite is Heath Ledger's Joker. I think that was, Dark Knight is as perfect a sequel as I think you're ever going to get. Spider-Man 2, obviously, another example. Starfield is saying, just watched season 3 DS9. Episodes Improbable Cause and The Die is Cast. Quality Trek. Deep Space Nine is the crown jewel of the Star Trek canon. Cough button. Oh, boy. It's a rough one tonight, chat. That's how much I love being here. What else we got? Tim Allen says, and I don't blame you, I will not ever watch a movie that takes an established villain in pop culture and hero worship the character. I mean, I guess that's fair. I mean, I hate the movie Maleficent, because Maleficent in Sleeping Beauty is one of my favorite villains. I love that character in Sleep. That's right. Your captain loves Sleeping Beauty. It's a classic. She's just a evil, kind of hot sorceress with an axe to grind, and that's fantastic. I love Maleficent. She even says it. She's like, me, the mistress of all evil. It's that's fucking awesome. She's the mistress of evil, and she owns it, man. She's the bad guy. And then they try to copy Wicked. Wicked is one of the worst things that's ever happened to humanity, that book. That book, Wicked, that turned they even gave her a name, Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, into a good or into a misunderstood hero. That's why we get all these things. That's why we get all these things, because of Wicked. It was successful with Wicked, and so they're importing that story into everything. And they tried to do that with Maleficent, and I hated it. They turned King Stefan into an evil ogre, a toxic male, and I just like, why can't she just be evil? Why can't she just be a badass? You know? So I'm kind of with you on that level, but I don't mind rooting for an anti-hero. I really don't. So I take it you don't like Penguin, Tim Allen. You're not into Penguin, huh? I'll tell you, I really am digging the Penguin. The second episode was fantastic, and as I've said, it works. I'm going to tell you right now, as a mob story and a villain as the protagonist story, so it's on those two levels. I'm going to tell you, 100% of why this works so well is because it fits the Fool Triumphant category. And the Fool Triumphant is a kind of irresistible character. We tend to love the Fool Triumphant. It's basically an underdog who's overlooked and underestimated by everybody. And within his world, he's kind of innocent. He's just a dumb thug that grew up in this life. That's all he knows. Maybe if he'd been raised by a good family, things would be different. But he was raised in the ghetto, and he grew up to be exactly what you grow up to be in the ghetto. No more, no less. So he's not anything terribly special. It's all the other smarter crime bosses that have all the schemes, and they want political power, and they want to run the whole city and all this shit. All Penguin wants is to just be the dominant crime boss and just do crime. That's all he wants to do. So on that level, he's kind of innocent, and it makes us kind of root for him. Now, in comparison to your John Q. civilian public, no, he's an evil son of a bitch. But within that world, it's kind of fun to root for him. You know, I'm telling you, Fool Triumphant. I don't know if they know that's what they did, but that's what they did, and it was brilliant. Like, that was a great angle for this story. And I never would have saw that coming either. I would have been like, and that's why I thought the Penguin was going to suck. I was like, who wants this? I don't want this. I don't want the Penguin. He's a low-tier Batman character. Who cares? I'm thinking that you need someone like the Joker to carry off something like that. And not that I'd want that either. But it turns out that a kind of dumpy, underestimated, low-tier villain is the perfect Fool Triumphant. So it actually works out really well. What else we got? Starfield, I agree. Wants a proper adaptation of The Killing Joke and not that animated fucking travesty of a couple years ago. I agree. We're on after hours, so I'm just going to let the F-bombs fly. What do you think of that, chat? What do you think of that? Tim Allen says, I'm tired of Batman and Superman stories. I'd rather have a story of like a hero that is just outside of the top 10. And for that, I say, yeah. I could not agree more, Tim. I'm so fucking tired of just always having these anti-hero stories, these cynical stories, the Game of Thronesing of everything. I enjoy Game of Thrones. I like a Game of Thrones. I'm even watching The Penguin play a Game of Thrones, and I'm enjoying it. But honestly, the things that stick with me, the things that live in my memory and in my heart, are films like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, Godzilla -1, One Piece, the live-action One Piece show, Stranger Things. You know, those are the properties that live in me because those are stories that are powerful. They hit you at the deepest level. You love the characters. You love to see their success. There's a sense of joy in their victories. That just makes the story mean so much. I mean, we all have had this experience where you start to love characters so much that it's almost like they're a real person in the real world that you care about, like a family member, you know? And the Star Trek characters have always been that way for me. All the original 5 Star Trek crews have always felt that way to me. They're like real people out there somewhere in some future place doing their thing. And I want to know they're out there. And if something bad happens to them, it's a big deal, right? And that's how I felt about the characters in Godzilla Minus One. It's how I feel about the Stranger Things characters. I don't give a shit about Rhaenyra Targaryen or Alicent, other than I'm interested to see how they undo themselves. That's all I'm interested. Like, Daemon Targaryen is super cool. Super, super cool. But he's a piece of shit, and I don't care about him as a person. Like, I'm fascinated to see where his story goes. Actually, I will say this. Viserys Targaryen is one of the only characters in a Game of Thrones story that I really did actually feel like a moved, like I love this character feeling. I suppose Ned Stark, but we saw how that went. And maybe Prince Oberyn. I really liked Prince Oberyn. And I will say I was very invested in Dany's story, but they shit all over that. And they had her just get stabbed in the gut at the end, which, fuck you, Game of Thrones. David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, two of the dumbest men in entertainment. I can't really say. They're not. I can't say that. They did bring off three-body problem. You know what? They're good adapters. They're good adapters. Let's see them do their own thing, though. Well, listen, Tim, I have to say something, though. You might actually enjoy this Joker film, though, from your perspective, because it doesn't go the way you think it's going to go, is all I'm going to say. Actually, I will say this. What happens at the end of the film was a kind of theory in the back of my mind while I was watching it. I was like, well, it's possible that, and I just sort of had this theory about where this could go. And it actually did go there, so I take it back. I predicted it. It was super easy. If you're watching the Swords and Starships channel with your host, me, Captain Garrett, you are on the cutting edge of nerd culture. Our continuing mission to explore strange fictional worlds and seek out new characters and new heroes to root for. Hang on, Tim Allen. I'm getting to the Foreigner belt next. Tim Allen said, I rolled my eyes at the trailer for The Acolyte when they chanted the power of one, the power of two, the power of many. Oh, that fucking show. It's such a piece of shit. It's such a piece of shit. Where is it? Do I have it? Yes, I have it!
The power of one, the power of two, the power of many.
What? What? Oh, this is so shit. I know that my lips are out of sync, and I'm really sorry about it. I have a solution on the way that I think may solve the issue, so hopefully next week that issue will be resolved. It drives me crazy. I hate imperfections in anything. And I really despise this imperfection in my streams, but we'll fix it. Foreigner Belt says, hail Captain, hail chat. Given the success of the first Joker, why do you think they followed up with a cringy musical? Wow. Oh my God. There's so much to say. That's a great question. That's a really... But believe me, it was on my mind. When I was watching this, it was on my mind. One theory goes that Todd Phillips did not want to make this movie, and they threw... This is Gary at Nerdrotic's theory. And they just kept backing up dump trucks of money, and he just kept making more and more outlandish demands. Well, it has to be a musical, hoping they would give up, and they didn't, and so he just made it. And I don't really buy that. I think he wanted to make a musical. And I got to tell you, as musicals go, this is actually one of the most cliche and, averagely executed musicals I've ever seen. Like, all the musical numbers were, like, just very obvious songs that you've heard 1,000 times in pop culture. But they're not even being sung in a new way, other than that they're being sung in a really very depressed people. It's a wonderful world. It's like, oh my God, watching people smoke and feel bad about themselves while they half-heartedly sing a song I've heard 1,000 times in pop culture. This is not an inventive musical, like, at all. And I don't think Joaquin Phoenix is a good singer at all. Lady Gaga hits a few notes at times in the movie that are almost what she's capable of, and but most of the time, she's actually giving a pretty bad Lady Gaga performance, I think. So I think this was a failure as a musical. Stylistically, it had some brilliant visual elements, but why would they make this a musical? I think that there's definitely the Rorschach syndrome. I think Todd Phillips felt guilty that this sort of dark fantasy was well liked by people. And maybe more specifically, I think he felt guilty that it hit a little close to home. Let me put it this way. At this very moment, there are hundreds, thousands of people who have had their entire lives destroyed by Hurricane Helene. Their houses are flooded. Their communities are ruined, destroyed. They're out of power. People are dying of starvation and thirst. And the government that was sworn to come to their aid has failed them horribly while shipping off billions and billions of dollars to other countries. Okay. Now, if you disagree with me politically, you're welcome to. But I'm going to be honest about what I think about things. So, it's not a political channel, but I think this is relevant because the reality is people, this is a microcosm of what's been happening to people for years. They've been ignored. Their cities have been set on fire. They've been dealing with overwhelming crime, the rot of our entire civilization. And what do they hear from the media and Hollywood and their politicians? Calm down. Chill out. Stop being such a fascist. We're doing important things. We're doing this to help you. Don't you know that? Arthur Fleck is a character who is in exactly that predicament. He is a man who is in desperate need of help, and everyone is ignoring him, bullying him, kicking him while he's down. And the problem is that Todd Phillips accidentally made a movie that told the story that millions of people are enduring every day because of elitist fucking assholes like them. That's why it resonated. Because millions of people live their lives in obscurity with no one to defend them, and they see a character like Arthur Fleck, and, oh, God forbid they identify with him. Well, Todd Phillips doesn't like that because he lives in his ivory tower with his millions of dollars and all of his posh progressive friends who all are right about everything all the time, and everyone who disagrees with him is just a hayseed MAGA hick that's too stupid to understand that Arthur Fleck is a bad guy. Well, I got news for you, Todd Phillips. They do understand. They do understand that. But they also sympathize with what it feels like to be stepped on every day of your life. So Todd Phillips felt guilty that he was hitting a note with a character like that, and he had to destroy it. He had to undo what he had done. So I think that's part one of your answer. And I think part two of your answer is what I like to call creative mental impotence. Rian Johnson suffers from this problem. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni suffer from this problem. Leslie Headland suffers from this debilitating, crippling disease. What are the symptoms? Well, the symptoms are you are cynical and nihilistic. You don't believe in the hero's journey. Everything has to be a deconstruction. You think you are original when you simply cut apart the actual bedrock of storytelling that is there for a reason. You cut it apart and disassemble it, and you think that makes you original. No, it doesn't. It just makes you parasitical, on the contrary. But worse than all of that, they are incapable of delivering on the promise of the premise because they consider the audience a threat. Had you ever? This is a weird thing. I really do think that guys like Rian Johnson think of the audience as a kind of rival, right? Because if I just make a movie about Luke Skywalker being awesome and being a master Jedi, and he teaches Rey how to like use the Force and defeat Kylo Ren and stop the First Order, and he even gets in there, mixes it up, does something epic, right, and then passes the torch. In other words, if the promise of the premise is fulfilled and we, the audience, are happy and we get what we want, somehow guys like Rian Johnson, Leslie Headland, Todd Phillips, they think they've lost something. I'm not original enough. I am not auteur enough. I have written something that is for that is for the troglodytes. I am a sophisticate. I am meant to elevate art. I think they're jealous of the audience, frankly, because the audience is smarter than they are. You know what's fascinating to me? Even the shills. The dumb as a box of rocks. Disney shills. They write better than Leslie Headland. Follow me on this, folks. They do. What do they say when we're watching the Grizzy video, right? And the shills are watching Chimere, do his thing. Notice what they do. They start to theorize about what it means. And they inject meaning into the show, which is not there. You know what I mean? That's what they do. They try to rewrite it for her. Why? Because what shills are not, they are members of an audience, and they too want to be entertained. Now, the fact that they just clap like a seal for Disney, that's neither here nor there. That's why they're shills, because deep down, it's like the shill when Ezra was being handed his lightsaber by Sabine after their transgalactic reunion, and Ezra says, "No, you keep it," which is destroying the promise of the premise. What does the shill say? One of the shills accidentally gave an honest reaction, which was, "What? No. Take your lightsaber." And it's like, that's the point. They hate the promise of the premise, and they cannot execute it because they're afraid of it. They are part of a morally depraved, bankrupt culture which is in deep denial and doubt about itself. Think about it. Their only identity is to oppose things. That would be wokies, wacko leftists, call them what you like. Their only identity is to oppose established things. Gender, just to give you an example. The national anthem, police, just law enforcement. Whatever is an established thing. Religion. They oppose it. Why? Because it's how they define themselves. And so, this translates into their storytelling. I can't tell a story about Luke Skywalker being a great Jedi master because that's what the audience expects. Because that is traditional. Because that's what we're all here to see. And I oppose that. I oppose that. That's a heteronormative white male story. And that's why I'm a good person. Because I oppose things that are heteronormative. I want child genital mutilation. That's what I want as a Wookiee. Anyway, there's about 1,000 more things I could say, but I sense I've gone down the rabbit hole. Starfield, he says, they are idiots. Anthony says Carmine Falcone is a pretty good villain, too. Yes, I prefer the Tom Wilkinson Carmine Falcone from Batman Begins. Now, you think that because your mommy and your daddy got shot that you tasted the ugly side of life. But you never tasted desperate. You're Bruce Wayne. You're like the Prince of Gotham. You could go 1,000 miles. You wouldn't meet a person that doesn't know your name. Just don't come down here. I love that. I just love that. Starfield, he says, shouldn't a writer enjoy writing both the villain, tapping into that darkness, but then writing the hero who purges that villainy? 100%. I certainly do. I loved it. I wrote you've got to check out my second book, Blood and Oak, Wolves Will Eat. I wrote one hell of a nasty villain in that story. And I reached deep for that one. And it was a lot of fun. It was a hell of a lot of fun. And so much fun. Well, I can't tell you why, because then that would spoil the ending. But never mind. My point, Star Fury, is that, yes, of course, writers do enjoy tapping into that darkness. The villain, the hero, every writer enjoys it. Every writer. I guarantee you. Who the hell was it that wrote the Hunger Games? E.L. James, I think it was. E.L. James, right? Yeah, it was E.L. James. No, that's the 50 Shades of Grey. That's the 50 Shades of Grey. Suzanne Collins, that's what I'm thinking of. Okay, Suzanne Collins enjoyed writing President Snow. I 100% guarantee you that. Guarantee it. Dude, The Handmaid's Tale. Oh, that chick loves writing a story about fascists, like uber religious male oppressors. Oh, she loves it. She loves it. I would if I were her. It'd be great fun. I flat out guarantee you Todd Phillips enjoyed writing this character of Arthur Fleck. Enjoyed it immensely. Portraying this character. I get Joaquin Phoenix, I'm sure, had a blast digging deep and going into the madness of this character that turns out not to be this character. What I am saying is they feel guilty about it. They feel guilty about it. Todd Phillips is guilty that he wrote a compelling and quite sympathetic character who descends into madness and becomes psychotic, and that it resonated with people who, you know, but what he can't understand is, like him, we understand that's the realm of fantasy. Sure, is there a wacko or two out there that are like, that's me, I'm going to do that. Okay, sure, fine. But that's always been the case. Wackos exist. See Shills, for examples. Just the Shills catching strays. I didn't even know. I knew nothing about Shills until I met Mr. Grizzy. He taught me everything I knew. I didn't even know this species existed until he said, behold, witness the shill in its native environment. Notice how it claps like seals for everything Disney does. Okay, you know, I gotta tell. Okay, side note. I talked to a guy who's a fan of Agatha. I did. I talked to a guy in IRL who is a fan of Agatha, and he seemed like a flat-out Marvel stan at first. And I had to pull back the captain's instinct to just tear, not him, but to tear the show to shreds and just be like, oh, it's shit. It's a bunch of stupid, boring, suburban wine mom crap. But it's like, no, Captain. You are a curious man. And as a curious man, see, that's what the shill would do. The shill would just assume what other people think. Not so, we. So I just started asking him questions. Okay, well, tell me, what do you like about Agatha? What's your favorite part? Who's your favorite character? What did you think of Doctor Strange Mom? What did you think of this? And at one point I said, and he said, oh, I like it. I like how it's different. I like that it's something new. I do think that it's kind of a little bit frustrating. She doesn't have her powers. Aha! It's funny. The deeper you dig. I just said the digger you deep. The deeper you dig, the more you start to find the cracks, right? Because he's like, I love Loki. Loki was great. Loki was really good. Oh, you like Loki? Okay, cool. What do you think of the TVA? You like the TVA? Yeah, they're cool. I like the TVA. What do you think about how Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet, the Infinity Stones are just paperweights? What do you think of that? Right? I just keep asking questions like this. Sooner or later, I get to a point where it starts to break down. Because I was like, well, you like Deadpool and Wolverine, right? Okay, yeah, you like that. You like Spider-Man No Way Home, right? Yeah, I did too. I like that. Okay. How come the TVA didn't show up to stop Spider-Man in No Way Home? Well, I don't know. Okay, in Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, they established that if you are from an alternate reality and you go to any other reality, it destroys that reality. So how come None of the realities got destroyed in Spider-Man No Way Home and in Deadpool and Wolverine or in Loki. How come that phenomenon isn't present in those shows? Well, I don't really know. I don't really have a good answer for that. What'd you think of Secret Invasion? Oh, I didn't watch that one. And I'm like, do you like Nick Fury? Is he your you like that character? Yeah, I love Nick Fury. Don't watch that movie. And then I'm like, what'd you think of She-Hulk? Oh, I didn't really like her. I liked the show, but I didn't like her. And I'm like, now we're getting somewhere. It's a blue pill. It's a blue pill. I have no ill will towards a blue pill. I once was one. I once was as they are, plugged into the Matrix. Well, I guess Alex Kurtzman is just trying to show us some of the cool backstory of Kirk's adventure. I guess that the inclusion of Morn's species is a nod to Deep Space Nine. I guess that the mirror universe explains why Captain Lorca is not really a Star Trek captain type. Oh, I was so deluded. Anthony says, I loved how Burton nailed Gotham. It was almost like a supporting character in itself. Yeah, I would say Burton did. I mean, I fairly think that Nolan did, but I will say the one thing that the Batman and the Penguin little film universe has, they nail Gotham. Gotham is really great in both of those. And I would say it has even more character than in the Nolan trilogy. So, Starfury says, talking about Joker 2 is making me want to reach for razor blades. No, stop, Eddie! Don't do it, man. No, we're gonna move on. But I've got I want to like dig into the stories about it because I'm fascinated by this. BJ says, Wade Wilson and friend. I do not want to go see that movie. Disgusting. That would be Joker? Or are you talking about Deadpool and Wolverine? But yeah, if you're okay with spoilers, I do really want to talk about the ending because it's kind of the linchpin to the whole problem. It's the linchpin to the whole problem. So I will get into it. I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. Joker Folie, adieu. I'm giving it a 5 out of 10, which is me saying it's kind of a Jekyll and Hyde kind of movie. There's like one half of it I sort of like, and there's another half of it that is deeply offensive and terrible. So I don't know what else to tell you, Chad. I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, I don't really think of it as Batman canon. I'm going to tell you right now, there is an element of this ending that a lot of people are shilling for online. Like there's a shill community for this ending, and I think that they are very dumbly overlooking like a key element of this ending, and they are clapping for something that really, if you really examine it, has no substance at all. It's not an achievement. It's actually kind of like a cop-out as a writer to do what they did at the end. Because it looks brilliant on the surface, the ending. It's like, oh, that explains everything. It's like, but think about it. It's a cop-out. It's kicking the can. It's a terrible, terrible conclusion to this character study. So I think what I'm actually saying is it's a 4 out of 5. It sucks! All right. My voice is like going downhill fast, so I'm going to rely on some videos. Let's have Yellow Flash. Hat tip Yellow Flash. Oh, wait. Actually, no. I do have a Yellow Flash video I want to do. Actually, no. I want to do Jeremy over at Geeks and Gamers on this subject, so I'm going to do that one first. Hang on. No, go back. I don't want to do I haven't watched Gary's review yet. Here we go. Oh, wait, hang on. Put a like on it. My bad. There we go.
Joker 2 is punishment for anybody that liked Joker 1. Anyone that's...
He's kind of right about this. It is. It's punishment. You are to be punished for liking this character.
supported it, that went and spent your money to go watch this film and make it a $1 billion franchise, a $1 billion film, a rated R $1 billion film, which was the highest grossing rated R film of all time, you were the wrong type of person. That is how Hollywood feels about it. And Hollywood has decided, since the wrong type of people.
Do you mean it, Foreigner Belt? Do you really, really mean it? I can spoil it. I'm gonna fucking spoil it. I'm gonna give warning. I'll give warning though before I spoil it. Well, listen, you never know who's watching on the restream, you know. All right, roll tape.
Really loved Joker and really went out there and supported it. Now we have to make a Joker Part 2 to destroy Joker 1. That is essentially what has happened, and that is why you're hearing all of the backlash and why you're hearing that it's not going to have a strong opening weekend at the box office. And then you get an article right here from Rolling Stones that says it point blank. Joker 2 has a message for fans. Go F yourself. Kudos to this follow-up to the $1 billion grossing hit for delivering something more than a carbon copy of the Angry Young Clown original. But who exactly is this musical for? People that are not going to spend money on it, and we've seen that time and time again. But of course, you've got right here, you've got a weekend preview. Slow demand for Joker 2, on pace for a $50 million opening.
Oh, there's no way Jeremy can say it. He can't say the title. Folie à deux. Folie à deux.
Weekend.
You have to say it. You have to say it like a very smug, self-righteous, but very peaceful Frenchman who is smarter than you are, right? That thinks he's smarter than you are. Yes, it's Joker Folie à deux.
This is not going good. You've got Rotten Tomatoes with a 42% from the critics right now. 42%. These are the people you would think would love it, but of course, it's not going well. Now, you go back to the whole point of, like, generally speaking, and I say this to somebody that's enjoying the Penguin show right now, but generally speaking, you can't really do a Batman, you know, a movie set or a movie or a TV show or a story set in Arkham without having Batman. At some point, it's going to be a problem. Joker should have been a one-off, but of course, this is Hollywood, so it's never going to be a one-off unless it's Christopher Nolan who will walk.
But I will just say, there is a scenario where this is a great second film. There is a scenario because there were aspects of this film that hinted at a possible arc of just. I'm just going to tell you right now, the trial of Arthur Fleck is a phenomenal stage for something really shocking and dramatic to happen. I sort of think that if you look at things like the O.J. Simpson trial, you know, you look at the trial of, who was that guy that, like, they thought he killed his wife, Scott something? I forget his name. That was like 20 years ago. But anyway, just these sensational, dramatic trials. The Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, right? It is the perfect setting for a kind of, like, societal madness to set in and to turn into like a crazy situation. And so what I think is Joker 2 should have been that. It should have been about how the Joker uses this trial to turn the city inside out, cause a whole bunch of chaos and mayhem, and it winds up backfiring on the system that's trying to put him away. It actually winds up strengthening him and turning him into the full-blown threat that will later face Batman. That's the movie I would have liked to see. That would have been the promise of the premise.
Came out, threats of violence, security, and all of that. And ultimately, was it Frozen 2 that had like machete attacks at the release? But if that would have happened at the Joker, a narrative would have been built around it because the mainstream media is very, very untrustworthy. They are the enemy of the people. But going back to the
enemy
Joker
of the people.
And this Rolling Stone article, this puts it into perspective right here. This is so perfect. And it just...
No, that does not mean I want to ban journalism. I'm just saying the ones doing it, not good people, fucks.
Symbolizes what the media thinks of you and what they think of anyone that supports something that they're a fan of. You are the problem, and you're the wrong type of person, and they have decided that you need to be cast out. Here you have Joker 2 is so bad and so boring, it's absolutely shocking. It's not shocking. It's not shocking at all, because when you understand how much Hollywood despises the certain type of fan that elevated Joker, it's not shocking and it's not surprising at all. Headlines are kind of crazy all over the place. Joker 2 fan reviews are mixed. I wanted a Joker movie, not a musical. That was
Brilliant. That is so brilliantly put. Oh, that's so good. I think I'm going to stop it there because I think I get the gist of it. I'd actually rather just kind of see this article myself because I want the context, and Jeremy is taking too long to... He's not reading it, so... And who wants to hear Jeremy read anyway? No, it's the commander. I can't... It's, I respect the commander. Joker has a message for fans. That should find it. Joker Folie as a message for fans. Go fuck yourself. Now, I can't tell whether this is... Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Allow ads. All right, pause. Pause that. Okay, cool. All right, Joker Folie has a message for fans. Go fuck yourself. Ah, no. No, of course he didn't read it because you gotta be a subscriber to Rolling Stone. Ah, screw that. Okay, I no longer care what you think, Rolling Stone. Screw you. Who the hell subscribes to this? What kind of psychopath pays money because they just gotta know what the Rolling Stones thinks about everything? I mean, seriously, in the modern age, who needs that? Oh, whatever. Get out of here. Get out of here! All right, next up in the stack of stuff. I think I do have this article. So I can't tell whether that's literally like someone said, go F yourself. I think what that is, the reviewer is basically on our side and is saying like, yeah, this is a movie that hates you, screw it. Which I respect that. I really do. Hat tip deadline. Joker Folie gets a D cinema score, half star on post track, on the way to $47 million opening. No one's laughing now. Saturday box office. You know, I need to spare a moment to talk about Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. What an obnoxious kind of character she actually turns out to be in this story. She is not the character that people liked, even from the Birds of Prey universe. She's not even as good as that character, in my view. This isn't a box office market problem. This is a creative development problem, declared one movie marketing vet this weekend over Warner Brothers' bold swing with a foul. Joker Folie, which at a production cost of $190 million plus, is coming in way below projections at $47 million. Failure. How many of these, Hollywood? How many of these? How many times do you have to piss on the premise that your fans and audience wanted to see before the lesson will be learned? Quote, Friday was $20 million, which includes I don't want all the... Oh, come on now. I don't want all the breakdown. Just hide that. Let's see. Let's just find the lead, shall we? The failure of Joker Folie is as clear as an azure sky of deepest summer. No fan of the original movie wanted to see a musical sequel, Mr. Phillips, period. But if we were going to see a sequel or a musical, it might as well have been a good one, but it wasn't. Yeah, so it's tanking. Let's do the Rotten Tomatoes, shall we? I just want to grab the Rotten Tomatoes on this. Yeah, there we go. I'm so curious. I'm just so curious. 33% on critic score. Wow. Wow. That's crazy. I kind of thought that the critics would just fawn all over this one because it hates the incels, you know. It hates the MAGA, you know, all them Trump supporters out there wanting to be Arthur Fleck. You know, I figured they'd love it. I figured they'd be like, great, stick it to those losers. But here we have a rare alignment between the audience and the critics. The audience is in almost perfect alignment. 2 points off, 31% audience score. How about a headline? Joker Folie finds Arthur Fleck institutionalized, although it's not an institutionalized story, at Arkham, awaiting trial for his crimes as Joker while struggling. No, I want the summary. What's the summary? Arthur not only stumbles upon true love, but also finds the music that's always been inside him. I was looking for their critics. Oh, there it is. Critics' consensus. That's what I wanted. Joaquin Phoenix's eponymous Joker takes the stand in a sequel that dances around while the story remains still. Although Lady Gaga's wildcard energy gives Folie à Deux some verve, I disagree. I disagree on that last point. But they're right. Basically, look, this film, this was exactly what I freaking thought it was going to be. That's what this was. This was exactly what I thought it was going to be. I basically predicted it on my last stream. This is a movie where it's all in his head. Nothing real in the world is really going to happen in this movie. Quote, the audience says, a broken Joker and his lady's voice provide Folie à Deux with enough kindling to keep a tepid fire burning for the clown prince of crime. He's not. He's not the clown prince of crime. This is not the man who can threaten the Batman. Fascinating alignment. I would say so. Okay. Here comes spoilers. Okay, I'm gonna spoil the ending to Joker Folie à Deux presently. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the ending to the film, if you don't know, basically the whole film is he's going through this trial, and his attorney basically wants to convince everyone that he was insane, that he was a bullied, victimized guy, and he's not this character of Joker. The character of Joker is a kind of alter ego, not alter ego, but like another personality that was a way of his mind coping with his psychotic break. And at first, he's going along with this. Meanwhile, he's falling in love with this fangirl, Lady Gaga, who basically faked, Harley Quinn basically faked being mentally ill, committed herself just to get close to him. And she's kind of feeding into his fantasy and trying to wake up the Joker. Basically, he starts out the film and he's pretty much dead inside. He's not the Joker in the beginning of the film. He's just Arthur Fleck serving his time. But a combination of Harley Quinn falling in love with him falling in love with her, and her sort of drawing this out of him, and then his lawyer trying to convince him to sort of dispense with the Joker, he ultimately decides to lean into it. And he goes full Joker and starts going crazy. And there are some moments that are kind of cool. Little ones. In between all that, there's a bunch of musical numbers that are in fantasy in his head. Cough button. Now, there's an opportunity in that story arc for this to build to a real fever pitch, because he starts to like piss off the guards. He starts to turn things up, he starts to upend things in the asylum. And there's some moments of like, oh no, we're descending into madness. The courtroom becomes a circus. That's all great. And it could have been building towards the whole city winds up on fire. He winds up loose with an army of killer clowns, and the trial helped him do it. And that's what I think would have been awesome. Instead, what happens is, at the moment he winds up representing himself as Joker in makeup, at the moment where he is giving his closing arguments to the jury, he changes his mind. He's not the Joker. His attorney, his first attorney that he fired, was right. And Harley Quinn is insane and delusional. He is a man who killed 6 people, and he deserves to be punished for that. And the Joker was a fantasy. It wasn't a psychotic break. It wasn't a delusion. It wasn't a coping mechanism. It was literally just a fantasy he was indulging in, and he was lying to himself. This is what he's telling the jury, and he's being sincere. I was hoping while he was saying it that he wasn't, but he was. And he says, I was lying to myself that this was mental illness or whatever. This was a fantasy, and it got out of hand, and I want out of it. Now the whole city is watching this, and they're all fans. His crazy fans are pissed, which, by the way, that's us. That is meant to be us. Us hayseed hicks that dared to like this character. We're supposed to be represented by these wackos in the gallery and in the audience and watching on TV that love the guy and want him to tear the city apart. And then Harley Quinn breaks him out with a pretty spectacular explosion, and there's some resolutions there that are all pretty lame. And I'll just get to kind of what the final linchpin of the whole thing is. We realize that this is not the Joker that is the antagonist of Batman. He's not. He's literally saying, I'm not that guy, and he doesn't want to be. And the movie sells it. The movie sells it. This is not the guy. Now, at this point, I'm sitting in the theater thinking, well, that actually kind of makes sense if you think about it, because there's no way that the guy in the first movie is a threat to Batman. He's just not. He's not clever. He's not that funny. He's kind of just pathetic. He doesn't even seem to really like the fact he enjoys the fame, but he doesn't seem to really like that he has actual power with like these clown criminals. He's not very nihilistic when you really get right down to it. So he's not that guy, right? Well, this actually makes sense because by the end of the second film, he's saying I'm not that guy. Okay. So then what's the point of all this? And I got the thought that like, well, maybe he's not the real Joker and someone else is. And of course, not very long after I had this thought, here comes one of the Looney Tunes psychos that's locked up with him. It's kind of been an unassuming character in the background the whole movie. He walks up to Arthur, says, I'm going to tell you a joke. And the punchline is he stabs Arthur in the stomach and kills him. And he starts laughing maniacally. And it's clear he's a total psychopath. This inmate of the asylum, this nameless inmate. And he kills Arthur. And Arthur's horrified and dies this sort of pitiful death, wondering, why are you doing this to me? And in soft focus, you see the crazy Looney Tune that just killed him is carving a smile into his mouth and laughing while he does it. And he's basically becoming, so this other guy is basically becoming the Heath Ledger Joker, is more or less what's implied. And the implication is that Arthur Fleck was just a guy with problems who lived out a fantasy of being this Joker character, but a crazier, much more evil psychopath who saw all of this in the asylum with him, adopted that personality and is the real Joker because he's a pure psychopath. He's nuts. Like, he doesn't have a soul, period. He's just crazy, right? That's the implication. Now, a part of me enjoyed that. I'm going to be totally honest with you. A part of me, I kind of liked it. I was like, oh, that's kind of crazy. Yeah, he wasn't really the Joker. And this just inspired it. This just inspired another Joker. And now that guy's the real Joker. And in a theoretical third film, this Joker is the threat to Batman. But then I started thinking about it. The more I started thinking about it, the more I realized what a stupid creative choice this is. Because, first of all, that's the end. That is the end. You cannot make a third film of this. Why? Because this no-name guy that's the real Joker, well, we don't know who he is. The actor had almost no screen time. There is absolutely no evidence that an audience is going to be invested in this character or like him or enjoy the performance at all. And I'm not saying that's Todd Phillips' intent. I'm just saying whether it is or it isn't, he can't do a third film because that's a totally untested actor. It's basically a bait and switch, but with a no-name actor we don't know, and we've had no time to get invested in this. So essentially, other than as an ending, it's completely hollow, right? Second thing about this that occurred to me is that it completely misses the fact that there was a scenario where Arthur Fleck becomes the real Joker. And this film was building to it. This film was laying the groundwork for an Arthur Fleck who is a threat to Batman. And it could have gone there if it wanted to. It just didn't want to. Why? This is the character you invested all this time studying. Why would you unceremoniously dispatch him and throw him away? I presume to make some kind of point. Regardless, in terms of a narrative device, it's terrible. Third and finally, regardless of how neat that is as an ending, I have absolutely no desire whatsoever to see that other guy be the threat to Batman. I'm not interested in that other guy at all. In fact, it smacks of almost a kind of ripoff. The fact of the matter is, I've already seen a brilliant Joker. That was Heath Ledger. I've already seen another brilliant Joker, Jack Nicholson. I've already seen that. I have no use for this rando you just threw in at the end of the film. So even though it was a neat trick, it's ultimately unsatisfying and unrewarding and hollow. And if this was meant to be a hook for a third film, which I don't really think it is, but if it were, bad idea, bruh. Bad idea. So I think there's a lot of clapping seals who think that this is really brilliant. At first I really like this idea, but not as the ending to the Joker. Like, I'm saying this is the half of me that's looking at this film as just in isolation. And that half of me is like, that's kind of a cool ending. It's a nice twist. The other half, it's like an M. Night Shyamalan film, basically. The other half of me is like, but this is not contributing to Batman. This is not contributing to the character study of Arthur Fleck. And I have no interest in this character whatsoever. And I think that's what the people clapping for this ending miss. It's hollow. It's absolutely hollow. It only serves to make the point that Todd Phillip wanted to make, which is the same point Rian Johnson wanted to make about Luke Skywalker, which is he's not the man you thought he was. Go fuck yourself. That's basically it. Oh, you liked Arthur Fleck? Fuck you! How dare you like my movie? Wackos, man. Anyway. But it's clever. It's a clever ending. I mean, it is a bit derivative, though, because he's like, I'm going to tell you something. This is why I say, blue pills are kind of the way. This is why blue pill, right? Maybe I'm being a bit of a blue pill here because I spent 2 films watching this character and wanting him to become the Joker. And I think what might actually be operating here is that, and so with the shill as well, I see a character kill Arthur Fleck and become a real Joker that does seem like he could be a threat to Batman. And it was a relief. Why? Because a part of me wanted to see that. And so in a way, the film was finally giving me what I wanted. But it's a trick because the film was actually undoing everything that the previous, 4 hours of cinema had been establishing. So ultimately, I think Todd Phillip, I don't think this was his original plan if he was ever to do a sequel. I don't think this is what he had in his head. I think he engineered this because it's a feedback loop. He saw the way the world reacted to his film, and he felt guilty. He felt guilty. The Joker is a fun character. He's a fun character because he's evil, he's crazy, he has no rules. Writers enjoy writing him. Artists enjoy drawing him. Actors enjoy portraying him. Audiences enjoy watching him. Heath Ledger's Joker stole the show in The Dark Knight. Everyone I talked to after that movie was always like, yeah, Batman was cool, but this was really Joker's movie. He was so cool. Everyone, dude, the audience laughed every time that moment comes on when the Joker steals. He's like driving through. He's trying to like chase down Harvey Dent's motorcade. And he's just caused all this destruction, and he kills a guy, steals his truck, gets behind the wheels. Like, I like this job. I like it. It's like everybody laughed. Like the nurse thing when he's like trying to like detonate. You don't see Christopher Nolan trying to rewrite it to say to the audience, fuck you for enjoying that character, because that would be insane. We know it's a movie villain. We're having fun with the movie villain. Doesn't mean we want the movie villain. We don't want that guy to be real. Trust me. Nobody in that audience wants that to be a real guy unleashing murder and mayhem on a city. Nobody wants to see that. But in a movie, it's fun. The wackos, the Hollywood creatives, feel guilty for feeling exactly the same way that we do. Why? Because their worldview is dependent upon them being the good people, them being the people who know best. They know how to protect democracy. And they make me sick. And spoilers, the Foreigner Belt says, such a weird situation. They made a movie just to subvert another movie that they made that accidentally subverted them. How bizarre. I know. That's actually really, that's super funny. I know. They made a movie. Follow the Foreigner Belt on this. They made a movie just to subvert another movie that they made that accidentally subverted them. Because you know something? When they made that first movie, they thought it was just going to be all of the marginalized people suffering who would identify with Arthur Fleck, Arthur Fleck, the marginalized, the preferred, the groups that they have selected to be worthy of being, in a victim group. And what happened was a lot of people who've been living in festering, crime-ridden, Democrat-run cities or in rural communities ignored, their wealth strip-mined by corporations and the elite. A lot of those people also identified with Arthur Fleck. And that's what subverted them. The wrong people were feeling, dare I say, represented by Arthur Fleck. You see what I mean? See, I always say wokies, they have no principles because they want people to feel represented unless it's MAGA people or it's white people or it's what those people don't need to feel represented by a character like Arthur Fleck. But marginalized people do need to feel represented by OSHA in the Acolyte. Do you see how this works? So yeah, no, that's a brilliant point. The movie was supposed to just be stunning and brave for the right stunning and brave people, and it wasn't. Foreigner Belt says it will be a gay Joker. Maybe. Why not? So Phillips turned out to be the real Joker. Yeah, exactly. Do I really look like a guy with a plan? Do I look like a guy with a plan? I'm a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do if I caught one. Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, Anthony, it's at first, and even I kind of fell prey to this, it's so clever, and it's at first glance, and it feels like such a relief to know that there really is a Joker in this movie, that your kind of knee-jerk reaction, maybe not everyone, but certainly for me, my knee-jerk reaction was, this is cool. Oh yeah, the real Joker was just inspired by Arthur Fleck. But I just think that's so meaningless at the end of the day. At the end of the day, this is a nobody character. This is not who we came to the movie to see. Some rando becoming Joker at the end. That's not what we came to see. And it was honestly very disrespectful even to the human side of Arthur Fleck, which is a character I feel he's a character that was hated in his own movie. Not the character, but like at the meta level. They hate that they created this character and they wanted to do him dirty. So, pretty disappointing. Cough button. That time I sneezed. All right, let's check out the Captain stack of stuff. Okay, there's at least, I'd say there's two more videos I want to cover. Okay, so as you know, I downloaded Starfield. Okay, and I played it for like all of like a day. I want to say I played it for about 5 hours, and it was 5 of the most boring hours of my entire I was gonna say a naughty word, and I want to say my gosh damn life. I'm trying to be nice. It was awful. It was awful. It was so boring. I thought everything was ugly and gray and pastel in that game. None of the character dialogues were interesting. The hook at the beginning is the worst I've ever seen for Bethesda. Every Bethesda game, you start as like, well, in the Elder Scrolls, you start as a prisoner, and something bad happens and you escape, which is great. Or in Fallout, right? You start out, something bad happens to you, and you escape. Or you know, like in Fallout New Vegas. Well, that's not really a Bethesda game, I guess. Fallout 4, right? The bombs fall and you're interned. You start out in a vault, basically, and you escape, right? That's a good hook for a story. Starfield had none of that. You're a miner, and they're like, okay, go mine stuff. I'm like, oh, fuck off. I don't want to mine. I don't want to mine shit. I want something interesting to happen. Mass Effect. Starfield, you'll appreciate this. Mass Effect opens with Shepard going on a mission that's gone all foobar right off the bat, and he's got to stop a bunch of evil freaking robots from murdering everyone they see. It's phenomenal. Why can't you start with a good hook, Bethesda? But aside from that, just everything about it was shit. Lazy, boring shit. And I was like, the aliens aren't interesting. The worlds aren't... The space combat, good God. Some of the clumsiest, most awful... I hated it. I hated the space combat. And I was like, Bethesda is so dead. And like, I almost might say that was my red pill moment for AAA games. Because I still had some hope that like these companies could pull off something awesome. And I guess I just did not appreciate that like they have stuffed all of these companies with so many DEI, diversity hires, that are mediocre people that do not have the credentials to do what they're doing. They're only being hired because they check boxes. And what they are obsessed with is the woke project. So while they're busy figuring out ways to put fucking pronouns in everything, nobody's actually making the levels. Nobody's making the bosses. Nobody's writing the dialogue and the story. Nobody's play testing it for bugs. Nobody's doing all that shit. Or not enough people, to be more precise. Not enough people are doing all of that. Because the wackos are hard at work in their little workshop hammering out the next stupid, woman who's actually a man conversation. It's unbelievable. And like all of these gaming companies now, BioWare, sadly, I think BioWare, you mark my words, chat. I don't like being right about this, but you see if I'm wrong. The next Mass Effect, my God, it's gonna be a dumpster fire. The next Dragon Age Veilguard is gonna be trash. And I just did not fully appreciate how infested all of these companies are with mediocre, people ranging from average to mediocre to total full-blown wackos, leftist psychopaths. However, it is always possible that a download, I was going to say downloadable content, but then I stopped myself. So I said it all weird. I'm like, a download could fix it and make it more interesting. Or like, oh, they expanded the game and now everyone's excited. I mean, they kind of did this with Fallout 76, which is still trash. Fallout 76 is trash. But it was worse trash in the beginning when there was like no NPCs in the game. And then they did a bunch of updates. They put in NPCs. People started to like it more. Side quests were a little more interesting. Not really. I hate it. Fuck Fallout 76. I just got all triggered. Captain's all out of sorts today. It's awful. It really stinks. So yeah, it's all for shit now. But it was possible that a download could fix it. Well, not so. In fact, Hat tip, heel versus babyface. That would be Az. Take it away, Az. And I hope... I've not seen this video. I hope this is an epic rant.
So, how are you enjoying the Starfield new expansion, hey? Me too. I had no idea that it was even out, but it did come out approximately a week ago, and let's just say players, and this is going to stagger you, aren't very happy with it.
Stop the tape! Fu Man Blue is in the chat. Hail, Fu Man Blue! Good to see you. Assume your posts,
Hi everyone, it's Az here from Heel vs Babyface. My last major video was...
Down, down, down the road, down the wizard's
No! Oh, no! No, they did a second number! Oh, my God! Oh, my God, I can't believe that! Oh, no! So chat, he just showed a clip of Agatha all along. And it's a second version of the Witch's Road song from the first episode. Because I stopped watching it. I watched one episode, I'm like, I can't take any more of this shit. I can't do this shit. And I've seen too many of these. It's rotting my brain. And that was not on my bingo card, that they did a second version of the fucking Witch's Road song. We are Captain's Cast After Dark today. Because I'm just letting the naughty words fly today.
No, we do not class that as a major video. We class that as brain damage. Nope, I discussed Bethesda and the potential struggles that they're going to have with the Elder Scrolls 6, as it does appear to be the company's next releasing game. 3 days after the release of that video was the release of the Starfield expansion, Shattered Space. Should have called it Shaft My Face. Sorry, it's past 10 p.m. here in the UK as I've started making this video, so it's pretty much the best you're gonna get out of me this time of night.
That's what she said.
You really know when a game's up against it when it gets IGN out of 10. Oh dear me. Even the Metro that knows as much about games as, well, IGN. Gave it a 4 out of 10, calling the game a lost cause and using a...
Let's see. They say so. Their review says the exact opposite of what Starfield needed, with a DLC expansion that magnifies the parent game's failings and sidelines its more positive elements. The new city is nice and big, and there's plenty of content. If purple is your favorite color, you'll never want to leave. What? One city? That's it? Cons. Boring story and characters. Duh. Saw that right from the beginning. Uninteresting new map and exploration. Same old mediocre combat. No new weapons or enemies of note. Distressing amount of bugs. Very expensive. Wow. What a fucking piece of shit. What a piece of shit Starfield is.
Certain word which I got to admit brings a whole load of joy to my heart. Boring! We're so fucking boring! The release of the expansion only brought back a fraction of the audience, averaging around 8,000 to 9,000. It suddenly peaked up to about 21,000. However, since the launch of the expansion, it's already drifted down to tops of around 15. Now, if you compare that with Skyrim across this whole period has still performed better than Bethesda's brand new IP, averaging 18,500 players and topping off at around 30,000. But not only is Starfield being beaten by a 13-year-old game made by the same company, but it could only manage to peak at number...
That is crazy. Can you imagine? Skyrim came out in 2011. 2011. It is currently beating Starfield by the same studio. That is unreal. That is unbelievable to me. Everything woke turns to shit. Everything. How many absolute fortunes have to be destroyed? How many characters? How many film franchises? How many video game worlds? How many public humiliations of the creators behind this shit? How many woke consultants have to go broke and bankrupt before the lesson will be learned? Nobody wants wokeness. It is a sick world view. It destroys everything.
83 in the Steam charts, which, let's just be honest, is absolutely pathetic. And the people that are actually playing it, which, let's be honest, isn't that many, have given it a mostly negative review on Steam, with 1,834 reviews coming in already. The top reviews...
Folks, I want you to think about how absolutely failed at freaking life you have to be. Like, you know, our game is crap. We really, you know what, folks? We got to have some honest conversations. We really screwed the pooch. And Ben Hogan, welcome to the chat, but don't spam the chat, sir. Enter your comments. We will entertain them. All they had to do was make a small-scale DLC that people liked and see if you could eke out a little success. They couldn't do it, folks. They couldn't even do that.
It's actually positive and gives the expansion a thumbs up with the statement of...
Where is my master at arms? He'll handle it. Yes. There we go. See ya. Off you go. Resume tape.
Of this story is boring as fuck. Would recommend if you have insomnia and need to work the next day. That's pretty much the best Bethesda can get out of this. Other such reviews are a little bit more seething, with a not recommended. Starfield and Now Shattered Space feels like a game made by a bunch of retired in-place managers.
Thought you were, you know, retired.
Retarded.
Retired.
Doing the bare minimum to meet requirements, directing a bunch of outsourced labor to create the most mediocre product possible. It's an incredibly lazy game all around. The main thing this game and its DLC has done is collectively and severely lowered everybody's expectations for The Elder Scrolls 6. Huh, that's funny, because I just did a video about that. No new features, no fixes to the fact this game is still a boring mess, not even an attempt to fix the game's core issues, and they released this for $40. What a joke. Yep, that's right. Costing the UK a staggering £26 or $30 in the US. This expansion, which is approximately 6 to 7 hours worth of gameplay, really feels that Bethesda is taking its customers for a ride. But
as long as the credits keep rolling in, life's good.
the expansion seems to be insult to injury for a lot of players, as they feel that nothing has been done to repair the game. It's still as dull and boring as ever. The characters and the story are lifeless, and this, to be honest with you, does not surprise me in the slightest. And even though each of these assets have been individually crafted, there is a ton of reskins involved, and essentially nothing really for the players to get their teeth stuck into. But we are dealing with a company that's so renowned for its bugs that they even left the mouse cursor in the top right-hand corner for a portion of their release trailer. Is this insignificant nitpicking, or are we legitimately dealing with a larger, more systemic problem within the company, which is lack of detail, care, attention, and quality control?
As long as the credits keep rolling in, life's good.
And with the bulk of the criticisms for the expansion pointed towards the fact that it is dull, disinteresting, boring, way too short, doesn't address any of the problems of the base game, doesn't bring anything new, brings with it a whole new bunch of other bugs, this might legitimately be the case. If you purchased the premium edition of Starfield back when, then this expansion was actually included as part of it. Part of it, not free. The premium edition costs more than a standard edition, which purchase the premium edition and
look at how I love how like one review's like, if you like purple, you're gonna really love this expansion. Well, there you go, folks. Hat tip, heel versus babyface. As you can see, Starfield is in quite the state. Well, I think we've had a good stream, my dear chat. Late as it was, let's close it out with something fun, shall we? Let's find us a Grizzy video. What do you say? Mr. Grizzy! I wonder, does he have the shills defend? He's got, John Campia loves the MCU. I want to see them defend Star Wars Outlaws. I wanted to see this one last week, so we're going with this one. All right, here we go. Share screen. Hat tip, Mr. Grizzy, take it away.
Wait, what?
What? Ubisoft Forward tomorrow. Oh!
What a lunatic.
All you need is positivity, positivity.
All right, before we begin, be sure to keep in mind that most of the individuals in this video did receive exclusive early access to this game.
Star Wars Outlaws is almost here.
God.
I've played a significant chunk of the game at this point, and I have to say thank you to Ubisoft for sending us early access.
I will be playing the game a day early access.
I've actually been playing it for the last 2 days because I got an early access key. Thank you, Ubisoft.
Star Wars Outlaws. Ubisoft was kind enough to send us a complete copy on Vanessa's birthday a whole week before it was released, like 8 days before it was released.
8 days early access. That is actually 5 days before the idiots who paid extra for the gold and ultimate editions got their early access. Oh, and don't forget about the all expenses covered Ubisoft Star Wars Outlaws shill vacation.
Me sharing my opinions of Star Wars Outlaws are my genuine, honest opinions. I've not been paid to say them.
Flashback. Yes. Oh, yes. The Foreigner Belt with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Foreigner Belt. Very kind. Very kind indeed, sir. And he says, as long as the credits keep rolling in, life is good. Oh, Starfield. What a shit show. And Outlaws. Dude, I cannot find it. I cannot find the video where it was in real BBC, I'm sure of it. And I've scrubbed those streams. Because when Mahler shows his cut, his super cut of like all the shit in Outlaws, all the things that go wrong, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's so funny. Oh, I gotta find it for you. But yes, thank you, Foreigner Belt. Thanks to everyone for being here on on the red eye, as it were, here in Swords and Starships land.
Yes, Ubisoft flew me out to a special event in LA where I got hands-on with the game and got to chat with the developers and the actors, and also got to go to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and Disneyland. But everything I say in this video are my honest impressions of this game. Also, just as a heads up, I've not been paid to make this video or say any of this.
Right.
And I'm not afraid that Ubisoft, for example, won't want to work with me again because of what I'm saying on the internet about their games.
They're working with you because you are giving them everything that they want with regards to coverage and reviews of this game. And if you don't give them the coverage that they want, they won't invite you. Just ask Star Wars Theory. Ubisoft reached out to him and invited him to this event as well, but he told them, if I think the game sucks, I'm gonna come out and say that it sucks. And what did Ubisoft do? They ghosted him after he said that.
Yeah, they did reach out. We were potentially going to do something. I gave them an exorbitant amount of money. I was like, well, you need to give me this, and look, like there's going to be a ton of things in the contract that will not bind me to any sort of tailoring of what I need to or don't need to say about this game. If it's complete ass, I'm going to be totally candid about that. And so at the end of the day, nothing was signed. Nothing was done. And I'm happy about that because the game...
Wait, so they go as far as to have like a contract. These shills, they pretend that it's, oh, well, yeah, they gave me like some stickers and like a goodie bag, but whatever. A little tour wasn't a big deal. They have them sign freaking contracts. This is unbelievable. I cannot believe they tried to just buy Star Wars Theory, and he's like, no, you can't.
Game looks like absolute shit.
And surprise, surprise, all the people I've seen who attended these events and got early access to the game have given it positive reviews.
Star Wars Outlaws is awesome.
I mean, I got to tell you, I don't think I need any help getting hyped for this game at this point. Like, I'm fully in the throes of it.
I'm not being paid. I'm just doing this because I enjoy the game.
I have been playing it for days now. I love it. Like, I'm totally in.
I will say, though, it's a lot more pros than there is cons.
Yes, there will be flaws with the game. Yes, it's not perfect. Yes, it's not maybe the dream game everyone's hoping for. Maybe it's not even the Star Wars game you wanted.
That is such an Orwellian cope. That is always what they say when what they mean is, this game has a lot of problems. It's got a lot of problems. It kind of sucks.
It's still going to be a fun experience in my eyes, and I'm going to publicly say that and say my honest opinion about the game, because I am looking forward to it.
I have officially been won over. So thank you to the entire dev team who put this game together and made such a fun story to experience.
Smack that dumb bitch!
I'm sitting here watching Star Wars and gaming in general just becoming more and more toxic and people attacking others. It kind of hurts.
The louder, more toxic side of Star Wars fandom latches on to anything that doesn't fit their version of Star Wars, and they haven't shied away from criticizing Outlaws in a very similar way.
People are online and frothing at the mouth for any reason to criticize and attack and hate on anything they don't like, even if
what I mean to say is this. I feel a particular contempt response for this shill because he's very passive aggressive. He's very gaslighty in how he does this. He's like, oh, I'm just a very polite YouTuber. I'm very positive. I would never say anything mean. I just happen to think that anyone who doesn't think like me is, of course, a fascist and a Nazi and must be immediately stoned to death and destroyed. And that's their fault, really. And I'm just a very nice guy. I just love everybody. This is this show.
Good.
A lot of these so-called reviews that call this game the worst game ever are garbage. Many of them chose to hate the game before it even came out, or depend on the crowd that need this game to be.
Audiences are 100% entitled to have any opinion for any reason. They are entitled to hate a game before it comes out. I think people are entitled to hate Joker Folie before it comes out. Because it's a stupid idea. Doing a sequel to Joker was a bad idea, but add to that, a musical makes it even worse. People are fully entitled to hate that movie before it comes out. 100%. It's a dumb concept. I don't want to see it. That's legitimate.
Be bad in order to get views.
Okay, well, using your own logic against you, don't you, in turn, need the game to be good in order to get views? And you did not get a lot of views on your positive Star Wars Outlaws review, so by your own logic, what does that tell you about the game?
It sucks. Sucks!
Yes, and God forbid people leave you negative comments and accurately label you a shill.
But there's definitely still a ton of negativity around it, and I'm getting negative comments and people saying I've been paid by Disney or Ubisoft.
Because you are. We've already proven this. And this is the 4th time he's brought this up, by the way.
But I find it so funny. I posted this tweet the other day saying this is actually so beautiful. And even in the comments section of this...
Oh my God. You know what? I gotta sit. Look at what he's saying. It's so beautiful.
So funny. I posted this tweet the other day saying this...
It's Desert Planet. That's what it is. It's Desert Planet. It's the only fucking setting in Disney Star Wars. is desert planet. They don't do a different setting. Desert planet or green planet. That's what they do in Star Wars now. Every single Disney Star Wars piece of shit, it's the same thing. It's just a recreation of Tatooine every single time. Tatooine was meant to be a backwater, a small town nowhere that nobody goes to. It was the devil's asshole. That's basically what Tatooine was supposed to be. If you're on Tatooine, your life is shit. Nobody knows where you are. Nobody knows who you are because you're on Tatooine. It was never meant to be the primary setting of Star Wars. It was not supposed to be the primary setting. And he's like, oh, it's so beautiful. You've seen it 100 times, you dumb shell. How many times do you need to see Desert Planet before it's enough? So ridiculous. Will we next see green islands in the sea? Just green islands? Like where Chimere lives and Jake Skywalker lives? And where Andor goes to?
Is actually so beautiful. And even in the comment section of this, people are saying that this game sucks. And then I'm being paid to make this and say nice things about the game.
Cry me a river, dickface.
This Star Wars.
That is very true, Anthony Timmons. Nothing like it. A hot shower makes you feel human again. Especially when you've been in a situation where you have not had access to showers for a while. Holy shit. Yeah, you realize what you take for granted in life. You really do.
Outlaws was, I don't think Ubisoft or Massive Entertainment's intention was to ever make the greatest Star Wars game or the greatest video game ever made.
Yeah, obviously, because they don't care enough to do that. It's about churning out the cheapest game possible as quickly as possible and trying to rip people off and make as much money as you possibly can, while desperately trying to compare it to one of the greatest video games ever made.
What's so insane is that it's a layup. Star Wars, an open world, or roughly open world Star Wars game where you're an outlaw and you're just going on jobs. It's a freaking layup. It's a no-brainer. How can you screw that up?
Not only does it feel like Tomb Raider, but it feels like portions of Assassin's Creed, portions of Far Cry, a taste of Red Dead Redemption.
Classic Disney shill move, comparing Disney Star Wars, in this case Star Wars Outlaws, to other things that people like and say, hey, if you like those games, you're gonna love this.
These simplistic shootouts can also be brought to a faster conclusion via the use of Kay's Adrenaline Rush move, almost identical to the Deadeye targeting from the Red Dead Redemption series.
It's going to be like a GTA-style wanted system.
The wanted system is also like very Red Dead and like Grand Theft Auto style.
God, it's like a shill hive mind, like Ubisoft sent them talking points to hammer home when discussing this game. And I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that I don't think people are going to be comparing GTA 6 when it comes out to Star Wars Outlaws.
That's for damn sure.
Here it comes.
Speaking of Kay,
I love that song. It's so damn beautiful. Oh my God.
I liked her a lot.
Kay Vess. Underworld's favorite new scoundrel.
My favorite new scoundrel for sure.
If your main, clarification on whether a game is good or not is how hot the main
That was good timing, Grizzy. Let's listen to what this little twerp has to say.
main character is, then you're quite if your main clarification on whether a game is good or not is how hot the main character is, then you're quite shallow, and I don't think that you're qualified to really give an opinion to anyone else about whether they should buy the game or not.
Oh my god, that is the perfect example of that little shitty passive aggressive. Oh, that nasty little passive aggression, because he's such a weak, effeminate, just like, yes, well, I think that if the only thing you care about in a good game is a hot woman, then... And it's like, now, right away, that's a straw man argument. Nobody's making that argument. No one is saying that the sole defining factor for why a game is good is the chick is hot. Nobody's saying that. It's a strong factor. It's an important factor. But that is not... Nobody is arguing that. So it's a straw man argument, which he's then knocking down. And then he goes on to say, well, then, I don't think that you're qualified. You're not qualified. Which is basically disenfranchising people of their opinion. You're basically saying you have no right to have an opinion, which is a fascistic bullying tactic to begin with. So notice how he's just so polite, he's so nice, but what he's actually saying is, shut the fuck up. You don't deserve to speak. Oh, what a little shithead. I'd have so much more respect for the guy. So much more respect if he just said, oh, you disgusting right-wingers who are attacking this stunning and brave woman. You're gross. You make me sick. I would appreciate that. I'd respect him. I'd say, you know what? He's got a strong opinion. He's still a dirty shill, but nobody's perfect.
Is how hot the main character is, then you're quite shallow. And I don't think that you're qualified to really give an opinion to anyone else about whether they should buy the game or not.
Who the fuck do you think you are, you little twerp? It's like, I don't really think you're qualified to give anyone else an opinion. As if you are? Like, what the fuck qualifies you? It's so pathetic. Just say it. Say you hate us. Say it. I hate your guts. I hate you. You're supposed to like this game. It's stunning and brave. Just admit it.
All we are saying is that
dude, this picture, though, is unbelievable. Like, on the left here is this literally gorgeous woman that modeled the character of Kay Vess. She's stunning. She literally, actually stunning. Beautiful. And on the right is this fucking man thing that they created out of her. Why did they do this? Dude, listen, Rush Limbaugh, El Rushbo, America's anchorman, rest in peace, used to say, feminism was created so as to allow unattractive women access to power. Think about the world we live in today. You tell me if that's not true. He nailed it, folks. He nailed it. All these woke wackos, these losers, they hate beautiful women. They hate them because they ain't them. That's why.
Actress who is the model for Kay Vess and the voice actor is a very attractive woman, and it's weird that Ubisoft went out of their way to make Kay ugly. That's all we're saying.
If your instinct is to say, I'm not interested in this game, even though I've not seen anything of it other than this trailer, because you're giving me a woman of color, I'm sorry, but you are both sexist and racist, because those should not...
I'm sorry. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. I'm a very kind and compassionate man. But I'm sorry to inform you. You are a racist. You are a sexist. And you should be stoned in a public square. That's not because I'm a bad person. You know, this fucking asshole. You know, honest to God. Dude, why don't you fucking tell me why this is a good game? Why don't you shut the fuck up about what other people think about it and just tell me what you like about it? You fucking... They have nothing. They have no argument. That's the whole point. That's what I'm getting at here. This guy has no argument for why this is a good game. He has to defend it because it's woke trash. It's his worldview. It's activism at work and must defend activism, must defend the activism. That's all this is about. This has nothing to do with Star Wars. Dude, if they made a game just like this with Rebel Moon, nobody would care. Literally, no. Least of all this loser. Wouldn't care. Why? Because it doesn't have the name Star Wars on it. That's why he wouldn't care. This is about clout. This is about he wants his worldview to win. All we want is a Star Wars game, a good Star Wars game, a good Star Wars movie. Racist and sexist. We, the ones who loved, what was the game? Stellar Blade. Where are all the racists for that? Where are all the sexists for that?
Not be reasons for you to not like a game.
Pointing out that K-Vess is a DEI, feminist, agenda-driven character is not racist and sexist. And when exactly did K-Vess become the representative for all women of color in gaming? And if you dare say that you don't want to play as her in a video game...
I'm sorry, but you are both sexist and racist.
All right, real quick, just because I know it will trigger these people.
All right, hang on. I gotta just say, Footman Blue, K-Vess looks like that lady if she was in the process of turning into a werewolf, which is pretty funny. If you ever wanted to defend a game, you should consider giving voice to the good aspects of the product, not shitting on strangers for their opinions. Yeah, I mean, look, I got no problem with him talking shit about people he disagrees with. I mean, it's what I'm doing right now, so turnabout's fair play. But my point is that that's all they ever talk about. They obsess over it. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you exactly that, like, they need to defend. Tell me why it's a good game. Tell me why the Acolyte is so good. Tell me why it's good that, like, 5 minutes after Osha watches the evil Chimera waste all of her friends, she now wants to jump his bones. You tell me why that's good storytelling. Don't get mad at me. I'm just telling you what's there. Foreigner Belt says, wait, she was a woman of color? Looks white to me. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they've got their little Nuremberg scale they've developed over there, those woke wackos. Fu Man Blue says, that's my point. All they need to do is talk about what they like about the game. Yeah, you know what's funny is, like, when I'm praising the Penguin, did it even occur to me to talk about what people who hate it think about it? Honestly, I didn't even hear anything about people who hated it. I have plenty to say about why I like the Penguin. Now, we'll see how it goes. Joseph Ricci, who's often in the chat, seems to think it goes downhill. I really hope not. I really, really hope not, because I'm really enjoying it.
Smash the like button if you think that K-Vess is one of the worst characters in all of Star Wars.
Do it.
Gus Fring.
IGN, a shill gaming media outlet, gives the game a 7 out of 10. What a shock.
Overall, I'd say this was like a 6, 7 out of 10.
I think it's fair that a lot of people are calling it kind of a 7 out of 10 style game. It definitely feels that.
For me, I'm sticking with an 8 out of 10, which is what I gave on the original podcast.
As for my overall rating, I'd probably give it a solid 8 out of 10.
This is a game for me for sure. I'm going to give Star Wars Outlaws an 8.5 out of 10.
What? And I think it's going to go down as one of the most underrated and overhated Star Wars games of all.
No, it won't. They say this about every single one of these. They say this every single time. Acolyte's going to go down as one of the most underrated shows of all time. No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
All time.
You know what I think? I think Star Wars Outlaws is going to go down as the most forgotten about Star Wars video game of all time. 6 months from now, 98% of the Star Wars fandom will completely forget that it exists. All right, that's all I got for today, guys. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Smash that like button, become a channel member, and most importantly, as always, thank you all for watching.
A man, a myth, a legend. That is Grizzy. He studies the chill, studies them for posterity to cure their debilitating disease. They suffer, folks. They suffer. He's a humanitarian, Grizzy is, and I approve. Being a humanitarian myself. Yeah, lycanthropy, that's a bitch of a disease. Doesn't go away. Does not go away. It's a rough run, man. I don't know what else to tell him. I'm very sorry to tell you, but you are a sexist. You are a racist. It's not my fault. I'm just a humble little YouTuber. You're the one that doesn't like the female protagonist that looks like a human thumb. How do I always manage to have fun, even when I'm feeling under the weather? It's because of you, my dear sailors and star nuts, my dear chat. Precious lurkers. I owe you a great debt. Well, that's the Captain's Cast for tonight. Anthony, ugly females. Skunk says time flies listening to the show. Well, it's only been 2 hours, 20 minutes, but I got to wrap it up. So next Saturday, we'll be at the regular time. That'll be the midday time next Saturday. So 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. I kind of felt like this was a longer one, but maybe that's because I'm feeling under the weather. I don't know. I could probably go longer, but what the hell? Leave them wanting more. That's what I always say. Well, thank you, my dear sailors and starnuts, for joining me on the Swords and Starships channel, live on YouTube, Rumble, and X. As always, you're the best part of my week. Sorry I was late. We'll do better next time. And until next time, this is Captain Garrett saying, I will see you out there.